Hello, everybody. This is Windy City Fate Watch. We're in the studio tonight. I wanted to go over a little bit about what happened yesterday, and we'll do a little speed play or speed run of the last few days that we've been here. Wait for some people to show up. I know I burned a notification today, so I'm probably not going to get a lot of people at the start of this. I regrettably did not have my phone charged today when I went over to visit the org, so we weren't able to go live at that point in time. What I did is I tried to cancel that. I don't know if it worked very well, but hopefully we'll start getting some people in here. I know I lost the notification. If you are here on the replay, please comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're here live, definitely like. And if you're not subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you would, if you feel this content is of value to you. Tonight, we're going to, again, run over what I'm going to call how Scientology uses honeypots. Howdy, Fuzzy. Hopefully, can you give me a sound check, make sure I'm coming through cleanly? We're going to talk about how Scientology leverages honeypots. Oh, now is this better? Sorry about that. Didn't put the mic in front of me. If I could, let me check the settings. Audio. Yeah, it says that I'm on this, and it looks like I'm going, and I can see red lights there. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate that. All right. So today, technically screwing up everything. So went to the org, had a dead phone, couldn't protest today. I didn't want to use my other phone and be shaky. Plus, I don't have a backup plan if I've got that, if I'm using that phone. So tonight, again, we're going to go over how Scientology leverages honeypots in their body rotting process. We have an example of 2 interviews, and in both interviews, both of the gentlemen stressed how they were there to see Jessica, or this cute girl named Jessica came and talked to me. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I was definitely out of studio over the weekend when I did the Superman. So there was the fun of somebody was in the hotel lobby on the phone very loudly. I do want to read a little bit more from the book. Excellent, Dave. Thanks for showing up. I love when the mods are here early, and the mods really do help support and promote the channel. Love that. Hiya, Sally. Great to see you. And we've got our friend Declared Dave. Dave was live last night doing another session on the Lisa McPherson tragedy that we had. Let's do this. I haven't played our little intro, so let's allow some of the people to show.
Welcome back to a Windy City Vatan Watch, the channel where truth meets freedom, right here in the heart of Chicago. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest investigations, interviews, and insights. Your support fuels our fight for freedom and truth. So, let's dive into today's journey, armed with knowledge and the relentless spirit of the Windy City.
Excellent. Thank you, Cats and Cookie. Great that you're here. Love that you made the live. Again, reminder to all those here, please like and subscribe. And absolutely, we've got Dave's channel in there. Dave has a better sequence than I do, right? He's Monday, Wednesday. Well, Dave does most things better than I do, but I'll catch up to him someday. I have the advantage that I can protest. He has the advantage that he's got a better thought process, better setup, and all of that. How are we doing, Chris? Great to see you. Jeannie DB, I don't recognize that name. That doesn't mean you haven't been in here before. Again, sometimes I can't see the chat when I'm out there on the street, but great to have you here. So a couple of things that I thought were awesome about yesterday. One, we had Free Xenu Project, and I know Free Xenu Project I think is down in St. Louis right now, so he's on the road. Um, we also had just in the chat yesterday, I was very happy that Blow Drill, Dylan was an ex-Scientologist with a great deal of knowledge and understanding of how the technical training goes in Scientology. And it's always helpful when I have an ex-Scientologist in the chat, or a Dave or a Michael Andreas, these people that can really help me recall the verbiage that I want and remind me of some of the questions and terminology that I want to have there. But it was great having Blow Drill in the chat last night. Hopefully, he'll take Dave and/or I up on an interview. I would love to see that. The other thing that we saw yesterday was so Free Xenu did a lot of chalk work, and one thing we saw this in Boston today as well. So Cubs Champion 16, he had a sign out, and one of the things that the advantage of having signage out when you're protesting is that it slows people down who are walking by. They have some interest in, oh, what's that sign say? They start reading, and it gives you an opportunity to engage them. So again, I think it's a great opportunity for a protester to have that sign, because it attracts people to you rather than you look like you're chasing people down, and right, you don't know whether or not they want to engage or don't want to engage. But if they're reading the sign, you get a very good indication that they have some interest in what you're doing. So I would add that to my protesting. The one of the reasons that I don't use a sign is because I try to be on the move so much when I'm out protesting. It becomes a big challenge for me to have so much to carry around. I need to figure out how to get a sandwich board or something like that where I can attach a sign to me and not necessarily have to carry a sign in that space. Let me look what we've got over here. I think I've got all of that. So let's start with Scientology and body routing or sidewalk recruiting. I'm pretty sure that everybody in here knows what that is. It's one of the key aspects or key features of what occurs most of the time when I'm protesting. Now, I will say that I think that Scientology has become a little bit more clever in regards to how they're reacting to my protesting, and whether or not they send, that's a good idea as well, Annette, and I do have some shirts, and I do think that is a helpful idea. So yes, I need to do that more. The organization has, on a couple of occasions, sent people very far away from the organization, knowing that I would probably follow them, and then they're likely putting people out close to the organization, really close to that. So I can't frustrate them if I'm not near the organization. Also, one of those reasons why I always have that call to action: please come and join me in supporting or in protesting the cult. I'll coach, help you out any way you feel comfortable. It's always nice to have more people there. I'll tell you what my tips and tricks are of what I'm doing to help protest against the org, but you can adapt whatever you want to there. But the advantage of having more people there is that, I have to play zone defense when I'm here. If we have 3 or 4 protesters out there, we can play closer to man, and we could probably signal better. And again, we are not a club, we are not a gang, we're not a group, but there probably are people in the audience that could help remind us that, hey, another body router just left the front door. Things of that nature that I think are important. But prior to that, in Chicago, the way that they body route is they typically have flyers. And they have flyers from the whole spectrum of Scientology elements as well as all the front group elements. When we talk about the front group, Scientology has a number of public-facing entities that give them civilian credibility in this process. So With that civilian credibility, you have the organizations like Way to Happiness, right? It's a very fluffy little program that they have in there, and it's no different than, isn't the golden rule a nifty thing? So there's nothing unique about, most of Scientology's teachings are not unique. That, it's cult 101 in regards to what's going on there, and most of the things that L. Ron Hubbard authored, minus his science fiction, are not unique. It's borrowed from either other religions or other philosophies that came before him. So we've got Way to Happiness. We've got the Human Rights, CCHR, which is anti-psychiatry, anti-meds, especially when it comes to chemical balancing, brain chemical balancing drugs. That's where CCHR is out there. The Death Museum out in Hollywood, that is CCHR for the most part. And that stems from the idea that L. Ron Hubbard thought that he had a way to help people with his Dianetics, right? It's the Modern Mental Health. The book Dianetics is Modern Mental Health. And he was getting some traction in regards to psychiatry and psychologists agreeing with some of his elements. How you doing, no one? Great to have you in here. But eventually they all thought he was a crackpot. And once they turned on him, he turned on psychiatry. So he thought that he had clawed his way into being a credible psychiatrist and had this intuitive way of helping people's fix their mind, or, again, mental health was what he thought he could cure. Then there's the Youth Human Rights, which, again, it's pretty much the same thing as human rights. It's just geared towards a younger audience. They have anti-drug programs. Something drug-free world. I can't, if Dave, if you could remind me, but there's the drug-free world is another one of the elements that you've got in there. And then you see the Dianetics and the personality test. So there's this large plethora of propaganda that they'll hand out on the streets to try to bring people into the organization. And maybe it's to take a personality test, or maybe it's to get them to try and buy a book. Whatever he wants to do, whatever that particular propaganda is trying to do. Now, one of the things that I want to remind everybody, that propaganda is incredibly deceptive. Very seldom can you see anything that says anything about Scientology on it. It gives you this big, glossy, cartoony, nice element in front of you, right? Way to Happiness. It's this pastel green and blue element with some yellow in there, and it's just a beautiful book. And you read through it, 70 pages or so. I know that this never works when I do this here, but this is the book. Let's see here. Let me see if I can. So here is the Way to Happiness book. And if you look at it on the back, it does say Compliments of Scientology. Now, I have 3 or 4 other versions of this which do not say Scientology on it. It says, please visit the Way to Happiness Foundation. Right. Some of the other elements, right? So you've got the story of human rights, which is what they do in their human rights. And again, look at all of the historical religious leaders that you've got on here, showing that, see, we're just like all the other religions. However, they're not like any of those other religions. I was able to get the Spanish-speaking version of their drug pamphlet, right? This is the Drug-Free Foundation for a Drug-Free World. If you look at the back of it, it's talking about an address on Wilcox Boulevard, 1626, which, when you look at this, you'll find out that, oh, that's a Scientology building that they've got there. Out in Never In. Yep. They actually wear a T-shirt-ish uniform. Maybe uniform's the ish word in that statement. But when they're doing the Way to Happiness, you're seeing a white T-shirt with a circular element that's got the sun on top, a wavy horizon, and some land below it. When they do Dianetics, they oftentimes will be wearing their red T-shirt that's out there. They've got a green T-shirt that they use for the human rights element. And what else do we have in here? All right, Dianetics. Here's Dianetics, and this with the football on it. This coincided with their season six opening. Oh boy, I've got a lot of Dianetics in here. Also, just a smaller version of the Dianetics. So, right, you can see that several of those. Not sure. I don't know. I think I gave away the personality tests. I do like that, right? You get free admittance to that. Now, it's free admittance unless you're an SP. So I don't get to go into the organization. Howdy, Anna. Thanks for showing up. Really appreciate it. I can't imagine I sound good at 1.5. I know I don't sound good at 1, but 1.5 has got to be ridiculous. Let's see if there's anything else. Don't, yeah, no other books in there. But again, these are very deceptive pieces of literature, right? That while this says Dianetics, in very small print on the back is the only place you're seeing Scientology. And the way that the body routers work in this space is that they will hand you this and they'll do a very little intro. Hey, if you come back, we can help you out. Right? We can show you a movie. We can show you a little bit more information on this. But they're not really there proselytizing. Like, they're not going to give you a sermon on the street. L. Ron Hubbard would forbid it. David Miscavige would forbid it. He does not believe that parishioners or believers in the faith of Scientology, and I apologize for using the term faith, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt when they want to talk about their element. It is a cult, but that they don't have the wherewithal to clearly disseminate that information. So that's the kind of information that they've got out there. They typically want to be on the street next to Scientology, and the advantage of being on Clark Street is that you're already right in front of the organization. So that's the place where I think that we're most effective when we're trying to protest. We are able to prevent them from handing out things very close to the organization. And then if you go west of the organization, it's kind of dead-endish. You get the railroad tracks behind there. There are 2 more blocks of residential, but that has very limited foot traffic. All of the retail traffic is to the east of the organization. So that's going to be, you've got Clark Street, which the organization is on. The next street is Dearborn, followed by State Street, Wabash, Michigan Avenue, and now at Michigan Avenue you are Grant Park, and in the summertime, all the festivals that are going on in that space. All of those places, I think, are very effective for them to hand off this literature, because those people more than likely willing to walk a few blocks to get back to the organization. We do know that we've had sightings up at Wrigley Field. The person that took me on the tour of the city got us all the way out to Navy Pier. When you get to Navy Pier, I don't really worry as much about them handing off literature there. I'm not saying it's zero, but it's much less worrisome to me, because the likelihood of somebody walking 2.5 miles from the Navy Pier area all the way back to Scientology, very, very limited. So, I'm not going to, I just don't worry about that as much. And in the future, once they get out of, let's say, the zone, I will probably turn around and head back to the organization, because I feel like they're trying to lure me away. Okay. All right. So we've talked about what the practice is and what their methodology is in this regard. One other thing that they do, and I can't defend against it very well, is they will drive. And if they drive, I can't follow them because I'm on foot. I really can't follow them to these locations. We do know that they will drive to places. They will take trains to certain places. If there is a festival, in one of the parks, like if it's all the way out in Columbus Park, they'll set up a table and everything. And I just have to be lucky enough that any of you people who are subscribers to the channel can, if you see it, then you can email me, and typically I can then go and pester or frustrate them in those elements. I would always encourage you, and I think sptv.space has a place where you can also register, hey, I saw a body router in a certain place. So, howdy, Marina. Great to see you. Okay, now to kind of the core of what I want to talk about tonight is yesterday. Hey, Nance, great to see you. I will be there next Monday. Um, the yesterday we saw a second example. I'm going to show you an earlier example of this from many weeks ago, in regards to the idea that Scientology is pretty smart about putting some of their most attractive people out on the street, right? When they're trying to body route, and it's an obvious reason why, right? That the internet exists so that we can see cats playing and women who are scantily clad. Um, Scientology knows this. So there's a woman there. Her name is Jessica K. I do know her last name. I just don't feel it's really relevant that we share the last name. It has been shared before, so that's not a big thing. But my goal isn't to dox her. She's a rather attractive young lady, right? She likes to sing. She's an Instagram person. She has plenty of YouTube shorts out there. She again, just a fairly attractive woman. And this first video I'm going to show you is that the curly haired, and again, we just nickname him Curly because we have no idea what his name is. He's out there recruiting, and they're in the Dunkin' Donuts, which is near Scientology. So let me bring this up real quick. I'm going to do it this way. So I came up to the org. I don't remember exactly what day this is.
Not going to pass out flyers today?
Let me pause real quick. So I don't know if you noticed, when I walked by, the person that we're going to see, who is the green recruit, he waved at me. And we're going to find out that he waved at me because he thought I was a city vlogger. So he wanted to, kind of get his fame as being seen on the vlog. Now, you can't see it very well, but I'm at the org, so I'm three door fronts down from where the Dunkin' Donuts is. And the thin black figure there is the body router, and he's talking to the green recruit, kind of getting him to not really listen to me. He's trying to tell him, hey, there's going to be a crazy guy coming down here telling you a lot of stupid stuff, right? Then I'm going to walk towards the Dunkin'.
Thanks, Sally. I appreciate it. But I think this mic is really what stops that from happening. Not working for the cult, huh? Trusting your stats. Don't worry, everybody's stats are down. We just don't like human trafficking. Do you know who he is? So,
before we get there, I really do like to taunt them, and it's fun to let them know that the reason their stats are down is because of the work that the protesters and I are doing in this space. And then I want to remind him, don't worry, everybody's stats are down. Your org isn't the only org that stinks. So the recruit has just walked out. You may have heard me. I just asked him, hey, do you know who I am? I am going to use the body cam audio because you're going to hear him better, but you're going to hear some background noise as well.
They reeled me in yesterday.
Yeah.
And had me watch the movie and all types of stuff. Well, I don't really know too much about it.
Okay.
Seems like you kind of know more than me.
Are you okay being on film?
Yeah, I don't care, bro.
All right. So, and this gentleman, he was saying that yesterday they kind of brought him in. Did they hand you out a flyer first?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get a free personality test, or did you just watch
I did.
Okay. Please tell me you didn't give them your real name or address.
I did.
You're going to be emailed for the rest of your life.
Oh my God. So what is it? Like, what is it?
So they call themselves the Church of Scientology.
Yeah.
And it was made up by the science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's really just a money scheme. So the personality test was free. And they probably showed you a graph at the end and it said, hey, you've got a little problem here, whether it's anger or communication, depression, anything. I've got a book that'll help you. You want to buy this book?
Yeah.
So this guy, hey, Maria, thank you. I'm glad that some of this stands out. I really appreciate that. And never is that what they call me? Is that what they say? That so I used to be the red coat guy, and now I'm the guy that the neighbors say follows everybody down the street. Or they talk about Curly in that space. But this guy's gonna confess that he takes drugs to help with a mental stability problem. And by the way, I'm not a medical doctor. Thank you, Neverin. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't want to say that that I know anything about how chemical dependency or how psychedelic drugs help in memory. I will say that I do believe in science, and it does help. And this person will even say it's at this point that those drugs make him feel normal, right? That without those drugs, he can get in a dark place very easily. And when he's telling me this story, I am so worried about the idea that if he was to go into Scientology, they would ask him to no longer take these. And that Dianetics can solve this problem. We don't need no stinking drugs here on this process.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. And then the way they did it, though, it's like they didn't ask. It was just like, oh, so they put the book in my face. Oh, cash your card. I'm like, hold on, like caught me way off guard. Like,
Absolutely. And it just keeps on escalating from there.
oh my god.
So, do you remember? You said you watched the movie.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the movie?
I remember a lot about the movie. It was about how the book came about. About how apparently he was a doctor or something using Scientology to help people make people feel better. And at the time, it seemed interesting. I was into it, and yeah, that's what basically all I remember really. And then they just started writing the book and sold the book.
In the 50s, he kind of came up with these ideas about how to help fix mental issues right in the brain.
Yeah.
And he would kind of shop it around to psychiatrists and psychologists, and they all shot him down as this is bunk.
Yeah,
right? It's actually
yeah.
And so from that point forward, he is anti-psychology and anti-psychiatry. So they won't let if you have a mental problem,
mm-hmm.
they won't let you go to a psychiatrist. They won't let you go to a psychologist. They won't let you get you need medicine to sometimes balance that.
Yeah, so I'm on antidepressants.
Yeah.
Yep.
They won't let you do that. You can't be on antidepressants and be a Scientologist.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Antidepressants definitely helped me.
Right.
Yeah.
That idea that I've never been in that situation, but my understanding is that you probably return to a sense of normalcy when you're on it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not the highs and lows, the swings are
definitely. Yep.
There's a terrible story about a person named Lisa McPherson, and so Clearwater is one of their biggest bases. Hollywood and Clearwater are the two biggest places you see Scientology. They've got their organization down here as well.
Yeah.
So did he, Dave. So did he.
He had a minor car accident. She was mostly stripped down, bare naked, ranting a little bit. They took her to the hospital to do a psych evaluation. Scientologists found out where she was at. They came and they talked her into leaving against medical advice. And within 10 days, she was deceased. Because they tried to rush her to the hospital. There was a hospital that was really close by, but there's a Scientologist doctor at the faraway hospital. So they tried to go all the way to the faraway hospital, and she was declared DOA.
So why are they trying to push this so hard? Like
money, 100% money.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit.
But then they were talking about courses, trying to get me to spend another $50. I'm like, bro, that's going to be $75 already spent on nothing. I'm not doing that. And they're talking about well, I'm not gonna let you leave if you don't. I was like, nah, I'm okay. I was about to just walk up out of here.
It's huge high pressure sales.
Yeah.
If you ever went to a timeshare, it's like trying to get out of a timeshare meeting.
Yeah.
They just won't let you. And they'll start knocking down the price a little bit.
Yeah, I was definitely about to get up and just walk out because I'm like, bro, you guys are trying a little bit too far.
No, I love that. Really appreciate it. What else? So, were you only on the first floor?
No, they brought me upstairs and put me in this room to watch the movie. I was in there by myself. And then watched the movie. They came and got me and brought me downstairs and then gave me like a happiness guy.
The way to happiness.
Yeah, and I was like watching some public service videos, and then I did the graph, the test, the personality thing, and then they were trying to get me to buy the courses and stuff. I'm like, hey, I don't know right now. I'm probably good.
Now, so all of that, I don't even care about this idea that they have these courses, and if you want to believe in that, you can believe in that. You know, there are plenty of religions that are, you know, it's interesting what they believe in, and fine.
Yeah.
But it's the crimes that they commit. So you're going to watch. They have uniformed people that'll come in here, and they're older than my grandmother, and they come in, they get paid $50.
Oh, I thought this was. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit.
Yesterday too, I showed my mom. I was like, "Oh, I bought this book, thinking it was a good thing." She's like, "Oh, I heard like bad things about this," and I just immediately felt guilty. So I don't care if they let me back in there or not.
I'm a fan of your mom.
Yeah, thanks. Me too.
It's financial ruin, and then there's this idea that they'll kind of cause you to separate. They strip identity. So this idea that they want you to feel part of the group, and without the group, you don't exist anymore. That's another one of their tactics. So this idea that you'll feel uncomfortable leaving them.
Yeah, I'm pretty cool by myself. I be alone most of the time. I don't need a group.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sorry, I'm trying to poke ahead to see where he talks about Jessica.
I'm a lone wolf out here, man.
Good to hear.
Yeah. And then I don't know your beliefs, but I don't really believe in religion like that. So when they said church, I was like, man, it's already, you guys are not talking my language right now. Like, yeah, it's just not my cup of tea.
Now there are people that are called independent Scientologists.
Antidepressants, man. Let me tell you, like,
something on the syndrome or on the spectrum of what you were talking about.
In and out of hospitals to see me. I'm out here.
100%.
Yeah.
Definitely hope you get more healthy.
What's your name again?
My name's Windy City Phaeton Watch. I'm Paul.
Oh, Windy City
Phaeton Watch.
Phaeton Watch. Okay, cool. Where can I find like
it is Windy City Phaeton Watch.
So this is going to be my most. This was the most time that I spent getting a subscription. And I think that it's really hard to grow your YouTube channel if you're going to get subscriptions this way. So, but I do love that he was there. Sorry. I think I skipped over where he said, yeah, there was this really attractive girl in there. And I said, was it Jessica? And he goes, yeah, Jessica, that's her name. And what's really funny is in a couple of seconds. Oh, wait.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Here's your friend Jessica.
So they do use her
What's Phaeton?
So Phaeton, remember I told you they
to
rounded up these evil spirits and put them in a volcano?
pull the guys
Their
in,
belief is they're called
right?
Phaeton.
And they use other tactics, but they're going to use her as one of the tools in their chest in order to honeypot and pull people in. All right. I'm going to pull this down for a second. And this next one, this happened just yesterday. Excuse me. Yeah, you know what? I want to talk to Digital Connected Media. So, yep, just like the girl who dragged the kid away from Chris. The other one I'll say is that this same woman, she, this would have been a month before even the discussion that I just had with that last gentleman. A new recruit came out, and I tried to confront him and say, "Hey, this is a cult," and all that. And Jessica put her arm on his elbow to kind of like walk him away, and she walked him down the street. While she was walking him down the street, I just kept on explaining to her, to the young man that, hey, Danny Masterson, Lisa McPherson, look them up. This place is a cult. They're going to take your money. Don't give them your real name. This person, about 3 weeks later, sent me a message on the chat and said, hey, I'm the guy at 39 minutes into your video who you were talking to, and I chose not to. I did the research and I chose not to join the church. So like, it is one of those things that makes me feel really good about what I do. And I understand that I don't get all of them and I shouldn't feel prideful, but it helps me stay in a place where it says, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this. I am going to keep on protesting this church because these wins, they're meaningful to me, right, in that space. So yesterday, here's a nice, good-looking tall guy comes out of the church. Frizzino and I are chatting, and I see this, and he had been talking to Jessica. I could see into the org when I first got there, and this guy was talking to Jessica when I first got to the org yesterday.
So the gentleman here is English as a second language. I don't even on any both.
Hey, where'd he go?
With the in darn it, the kids that live in the mountains and.
So here's the guy coming out.
It's a cult, right? You know it's a cult, right?
We're just trying to save you, man. A lot of money and a lot of hurting.
So right now in my head, I'm thinking, do I let him go? You know, he didn't really care or anything like that. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna chase this guy down.
My card. Let's ask the question.
Darn it, that didn't go well. So the reason I wanted to speed up a little bit there is that, you know, as I'm walking down, the guy in the black is not part of what I want to talk to. I only care about talking to the guy in the white. I don't want to cut the guy in the black off. So I'm just kind of walking behind until I get an opportunity to try to get the attention of the guy in the white.
Hey, sir, I know they gave you a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to, here's some information as well.
They're following me to here?
You're in public? Yes?
Yeah. I got you.
So he protests a little bit. You followed me all the way here. What I've done is I've given him my card, and I'm not sure if you people have seen my card. So I have a business card. Let me take that down for just a second. So I have these business cards, and on the one side, it's basically Tori Magoo's let me tell you about Xenu.net and all the goofiness of Scientology. And then I also add my my YouTube handle. And then on this one, I'm listing some crimes and some names so that people can remember those proper noun names, Lisa McPherson's, the Chase Wave, those elements. And then if you follow that scan code, and let me see if I get the scan code to work there. If you follow that scan code, you're going to end up on a page that's WindyCityThetanWatch.com /crimes-of-Scientology. And it's going to have a large number of blog posts so that they can read about some of these proper nouns. So there's a story about Serge Del Mar on there. There's a story about Miriam Francis on there. The Chase Waves on there. The fallacy of Dianetics is on there. So that's why I wanted to hand him this card. And I thought that he would just take the card and go. But he's going to engage me and talk for a little bit. And some of the things that he says in this conversation are rather shocking. We're also going to see that Scientology is going to lie about a few things in this process. He was going to get food and go back. Now he starts reading the card, and the card is like, what the, you know.
You're going to pay for everything else after that. You'll see a lot of information on there.
Thank you. Just a second. Let me go back just a second.
So everything else. So you'll know children, Chase Wave, their child trafficking inside.
So I handed them card.
Yes. So those are the things they do wrong that they won't tell you about. So do you know
something about that?
They're human traffickers. They're child traffickers. They're money. So the Chase Wave. If you look at the scan code there, you're going to see where they've abused the elder. They've abused children. There's an older woman that works here every day. She has to write letters by the hundreds to all of their old members to try to get them to come back on course. It's just a money element. So you'll notice when you're in there, you'll get a couple of free elements, and then they're going to pay. You're going to have to pay for everything else after that. You'll see a lot of information on there. They believe in space opera. So 76 million years ago, Xenu rounded up all of the bad people in a galaxy far away. He brought them to Earth, put them in a volcano, dropped hydrogen bombs in there, and blew them up. That's the mythology they believe. Look it up. I'm serious. Ask any ex-Scientologist.
So he first said, "No, I don't believe that," and now he's going to talk about his beliefs.
You're right. They do not believe in your life and Savior Jesus.
So Jesus is my Lord and Savior, is what he said.
Jessica? Yeah, I do know Jessica.
Okay, so I met her.
Yep.
I just wanted to hang
Yep.
out with her.
And that's fair. Again,
So, hey, do you know Jessica? Or he said, "Hey, there's a girl in there," and I said, "Jessica," and he goes, "You know Jessica?" And then he says, "Yeah, I just wanted to hang out with her." Right? That's why why he is really engaged in this. And we're going to learn something else. He's confessed that he's got Christian beliefs. And I tried to express to him that you can't be Christian and be in the church. And he's going to tell us something about Jessica.
that there's a reason they have attractive women on the street.
I get you. I get you.
Take care now.
Sorry. Just before this, let me see if we can get it on tape. I don't know. Maybe I didn't get it on tape. But he's going to say, well, Jessica is a Catholic, or Jessica confesses to be a Catholic.
She's Catholic.
Jessica?
You know Jessica?
Yeah, I do know Jessica.
Okay, so I met her.
Yep.
I just wanted to hang
Yep.
out with her.
And that's fair. Again, there's a reason they have attractive women on the street.
I get you. I get you.
Take care now.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So I know that didn't come through altogether clear, and I probably do have this on a body cam somewhere, which I'll get the audio better on the audio. But when he first talks about Jessica, he says Jessica's Catholic, and I'm like, well, yeah, Jessica might say she's Catholic, but I'm sure she's not practicing Catholic in this space. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, kind of reading through a few of these elements, right? Very, very possible, right? That if he says he's Christian, I'm pretty sure, and auditing Scientology, no one, you could back me up. They're going to say that's okay. You could be Christian. We accept Christians. We accept Jewish people of Jewish faith. We accept people of Islam, and they're going to talk about that. But you're not going to be able to go up the bridge, right? You can only serve one God in this religion, and their God is not a God, right? In that space. Yeah, and it is just pure scammery. So. Very, yeah. I think that you're right. That if you talk about reincarnation, that the Christian faith doesn't believe in that. Okay, so this is the reason that I really wanted to show these two stories. Right, is this idea that Scientology is going to use everything in their disposal to try to scam. I think that's the right term. But at the end of that conversation, I said, "Do you think there's a reason they have attractive women in there?" It's like, I gotcha, right? And the guy high five type element in that process, and it's effective, right? It is. People don't really mind being around attractive people, and I will say that even the curly male that we see all the time, he's a fit young male, right? There's a reason that he's out on the street. Now, I've never heard him really talk. He's sworn at me once, and from far away he said, "Why are you doing this to me?" Which I still enjoy the idea that I frustrate him in that process. Okay, we've got a couple of options here, and let's see how the chat wants to go. One of the things that we also saw yesterday was there was a very large family, black family, that was reading Free Xenu's Chalk and I was able to engage them and explain to them what the chalk was. And there's a little bit of an episode around them like, oh my gosh, eye-opening to what they were doing. Or we can talk a little bit more about Superman and Christopher Reeves. So which story do you want to hear first? And by the way, I have a non-alcoholic soda with me tonight so that I can keep my lips wet. All right. Florence, by the way, Florence, that's a new name to me. I really appreciate you being in here tonight. Thank you so much for being here. E. Kirch, also a name that I haven't seen before. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. And I apologize. I don't mean to offend anybody. If good point, Dave. When I don't, if I say that I don't recognize your name, a lot of times I can't watch the chat while I'm on the street. And depending on if I'm using YouTube, it goes by very fast and I can't really scroll up that well. So I mean no offense if I'm telling you that it's the first time seeing your names in there. So, all right. So on this video, get back to that family. Bring this back up. So at this point, I've been away from the org for a bit. I was just out checking to see if I could find anybody having slid out the back door or anything. And we're gonna talk about the family first. Thank you, Marina. I love all of you the same, but you're my favorite now. You can see there are I'm guessing, by the way, I'm making some assumptions here in regards to family dynamics. But you see the mother and the father in the back. There's a stroller. The father is carrying a baby. There's a young male, 8 to 10 years old. There's a female in front of the bike rack right here, and then another female right behind that. And there are two right behind me, as well as another older woman who is white, and I don't know how she fits into the family dynamic, but she was also very interested in what we're talking about. So this family is about to walk up to the chalk and start reading it.
Sorry, I'm just kind of being the people are talking kind of loudly here, and I wanted to see what they're talking about. Yeah, I think that's a smarter play. That it will be more likely that they're doing that. Again, we're seeing. I don't know if it's coming up on here because the blue.
So the chalk right here, and thank you, Free Xeno Project. Shout out to him. He's chalking tonight as well. So he has put on the pavement a section of text out of the Book of Dianetics. So this is Book 3, Chapter 9. Depending on which version of Dianetics you have, it'll show up on different pages. But the basic premise of the story is, and we've heard this several times if you've been listening to anti-Scientology for any period of time, a 7-year-old girl should not feel strange if a man kisses her in a sensual way, right? Because she is somebody who's lived another lifetime before, and she's right that she's just a small being, or she's a being in a small body, and that was what this story is about. And at the bottom, you can see that it's signed L. Ron Hubbard because it is his word. So that's what the text on the pavement is.
I'm not seeing the blue through the camera very well. Maybe you're seeing that fairly well. So this is the crazy stuff they believe. This is the Church of Scientology. They're a cult. And what you're seeing here is part of their book. It's okay for a man to sensually kiss a 7-year-old girl because that girl is now in her second life or a past, she's into a new life. That's straight from his book. That's Dianetics is the book that really started this church.
We have one of these in Minnesota.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
Ron
St. Paul.
Hubbard-
I'm going to be in St. Paul next week.
That's why Ron Hubbard had that big boat in
Absolutely correct.
uncharted waters or whatever. Couldn't arrest him or something like
Correct.
that.
He was evading the tax elements that he had.
What happened?
So the church didn't pay taxes. Yeah, it is their church. Don't give them your name. If you go in, don't give them your name. Yeah.
So what happened, and it's off typically I don't really like putting people on camera, and especially since there's a lot of children in this, I don't want to have them on camera that much. So what happened is one of the children actually walked into the foyer, and if you remember that there's 2 double doors to walk into Scientology. So this one of the daughters is in the hallway, and one of the Scientology members in their uniform vest is, hey, would you like to come in for a tour, right? And the girl doesn't know that she's just walked into the church that I've told them this is what you're reading on the floor here at this point in time. How you doing, Mexican Long Hair? Great to see you here.
Do not give them your name. Never give them your real name.
Never get his church or
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll give you.
Come on, guy. Yeah, don't give him your name.
You'll be on a mailing list forever. You can't get off. They have, like, they know when people move. They buy retail spaces. A big crew. That's their book. We wrote it because, and the other thing is, since it's this person's words, who's their founder, they can't destroy this person's words, so they're not allowed to erase it.
Want to put a pause right here. Mexican Longhair just came in. I just want to say that Mexican Longhair had a great, exciting day today. He was able to interact. I at least saw one interaction with the police, and he was able to help some unhoused people not be harassed by the police. So great job, Mexican Longhair, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Okay, so at this point, this family, I've kind of given the spiel as to why Scientology is a dangerous element. Don't give them your name. You'll be on emailing list forever. They will always try to contact you. And they walk down the street. Well, while they walk down the street, I'm going to, that I always move back and forth to the back door and the front door just to see if anybody tries to sneak out the back door, which is fairly common for what happens in Scientology. If they see me out front, they're going to try to avoid me and get the body routers past me and not have to worry about the confrontation or the conflict that I'm going to try to present with them when they try to do the body routing. So I'm going to kind of skip through here a little bit. I'm going to walk down to the end of the street and back. So they've already walked past. I'll walk past them again, right?
To the whole.
So there's the family. I'm going to go around the corner. I'm going to look in the alley.
All right, if we look down the
I know
alley
this makes you dizzy.
There's a white
Sorry about
truck
that.
there, but it's a refrigeration.
And then I'm going to walk back. And
Uh,
you're going to hear them still talking about this interaction.
Protesting the Scientology org in Boston at the corner of Alston and Comm Ave.
I'll pick this up on the body cam better. I just didn't have time to do that yet. So did you hear her say, yeah, I know. I didn't know that was the church. So she's still talking about the experience where she walked in. And, Natalie and several other people have reminded me that while I might only be saving one person at a time, other people are hearing it. They're going to remember this story. And the next time somebody says, hey, we're going to go to Chicago, they're going to remember, hey, remember that guy in front of Scientology? So these are the reasons why I think it's important that we're able to continue to see when we protest, there is a knock-on effect of what we're doing. more often than not, you'll hear me say something. I'll say something nice to the Scientologist at first, and when they don't respond, I'll use words like cult or criminal elements of sexual SA or elder abuse, those kinds of things. And when I'm saying that, I'm really saying it for the audience around. So there's civilians that are walking back and forth down the street, and their ears perk up when they hear words like cult and so on and so forth. So it causes them to say, oh, what is this place? And maybe they'll do research as well. I think that that's an important part of the way that I do the protesting. I'm going to tell you, it's retail protesting. It would be much better if I could buy a DirecTV channel and just broadcast this out to everybody in the universe, but I just don't have those means. This is the thing that I can do. So, excuse me, that's what we saw there. There was a staffer that left. This was just a public coming out, and I've kind of I want to express to him some of the things that he's supporting.
His son is the executive director day of this org.
Joe Cicala.
And the other thing that Joe Cicala is, it's a cult, right? If you're in there supporting them, you're supporting human trafficking, you're supporting child abuse.
Just no care or concern. That always, it surprises me that
I'm interested to see where he heads.
That nobody cares, that those words don't land when somebody walks out of there. He's going to walk straight back in, absolutely unfazed by anything I've said.
Has the church done anything positive for you that you care to share? The response was, how are you doing, sir?
And then the last thing I'll do, just because I always like seeing the young skateboard kids out there.
And skateboard kid.
I tried to actually give them.
The one running with the tie usually has a
Have you guys been
skateboard.
looking at the admin scale? Have you looked at the admin scale for this org?
How many members are actually on?
So that admin scale question was something that Dylan was able to give us an idea that was a helpful question to be asking the folks. Okay. So these are often, many of you who are in here, I do recognize your names, and I do see you quite a bit. These are the things that I honestly say I enjoy about being out there. It makes me feel good at the end of the day when I'm able to make these interactions and make these contacts and redirect at least a small section or a small number of the potential green candidates away from this. Now, I know I'm out there for an hour and they're out there for 16 hours doing this. So I'm going to miss a heck of a lot, and I'm not stopping everybody from going in there, but I am doing what I can in that space. All right. The next thing I want to do is we did a little bit of a video on Chris Reeves this past weekend. Let me take this off. I'm going to change things up a bit. All right, I'm going to bring this on to. Let me start by saying, if you didn't see it this past weekend, and Natalie saw the article that brought me to this recently, that it was I don't know, a BuzzFeed article about 12 people in and 12 people out of Scientology, and one of the people that had left Scientology was Christopher Reeves. So if those of you don't know, Christopher Reeves was the movie star, one of the first movie star. He was the first colorized movie star for Superman in this space. He also had a terrible tragedy befall him late in life. He was I can't remember if it was dressage or show jumping, but he had a horse accident, fell, and became quadriplegic. So he became a spokesman for plenty of things, but he had a challenging life physically at that point in time. In 1975, he's graduated Juilliard, and I think that he's going back to which school? did he move back to? He was in New York. And he had, darn it, it was a college in New York, and he, in this particular element, he was studying for a play, rehearsing for a play, and I'll bring up this on chat real quick. So he's talking about, I think it was back on 75, right? Yeah, here we go, right? In the fall of 75, I was living in my own apartment on the Upper West Side, rehearsal for A Matter of Gravity, Broadway bound with Katharine Hepburn. He had earned, Cornell was the university, right? And he was a graduate student at Juilliard, appeared in several off-Broadway productions. One afternoon, on my way to the grocery store, I came across a young man standing next to a sign on the sidewalk that read, "Free personality test, no obligation." Figuring I had nothing to lose, I followed his directions to the 6th floor of the pre-war apartment building behind him. The door was unlocked, so I opened it and found myself in the New York headquarters of the Church of Scientology. So it's even deceptive the way that they brought him in at that point in time. Great to have you here. Thanks a lot for being here, Mexican. So even back then, right, they had to use deceptive practices. Now, there was a point in time when Scientology had a cachet with all the celebrities who were inside, but 1975 is not really where that was at. It was a hippie religion at that point in time. The whole place was buzzing with energy and activity. In the main office, about 30 people were working at their desks or gathered in small groups, engaged in quiet but intense conversation. They all appeared to be in their late 20s, early 30s, ethnically diverse, clean cut, neat. The men wore shirts and ties. The women were dressed in modest skirts or slacks. In a far corner, 6 Scientologists sat facing each other in 2 rows of 3. None of them spoke. I'm pretty sure this is one of the rundowns that would have been going on, right? Either the stare at me rundown, I can't remember. I have to rely on some of the ex-Scientologists or our friend Dave. But that's probably what's going on at that point in time. A young man, much like the one I met on the outside, came up. He stepped away briefly into the office, came back, because what they do is they check. They wanted to do a little bit of a security check. Is this anybody on a bad list? Who is this? Now, at this point, Christoper Reeves is not famous, and even if he was, most Scientologists wouldn't have. They're not reading the daily newspaper at this point in time. They're only reading things that L. Ron Hubbard is showing them. So he would have been an under-the-radar celebrity at this point in time at best, but he's still not even that big of a celebrity. Yet, thanks no one, there was a TR course going on at that point in time. Hey, are you affiliated with any other church? No, I'm not. Handed the form back, right? Because you fill out the form before you even take anything. Just so it's not quite the life history. It's a much more abbreviated version of that. So he takes the form, finishes the test. I appear at the church at the appropriate time, even though I wasn't sure why. Probably it was more my competitive nature, and this is what I talked about on the weekend. He always had this competitive nature, and he said, "I'm going to ace this personality test," right? So he figures he'd hit a home run. So I probably just wanted to stop by for congratulations. Wrong. The same host greeted me just as warmly as he had the day before. Then I was invited in to follow him in. He led me down a hall and into a plush, well-appointed private office. This was an obvious inner sanctum of the headquarters, suitable for the president or CEO of major corporations. Before I had much time to take in my surroundings, in came 3 apparently heavy hitters of the organization, shook my hand, introduced themselves, direct eye contact, and I was now being recognized as a trade. I was now beginning to recognize as a trademark of Scientology. Right, we're very engaging and very warm and friendly. We settled into comfortable chairs, and then one of the senior officials, in a perfectly cheerful tone of voice, gave me the bad news. There was no score, no grade, no quantitative measurement. So again, he's this competitive person, and he thinks I'm going to get 100 out of 100 on this thing. Obviously deeply depressed, suffering from low self-esteem and carrying heavy baggage around with me, not from the emotional damage in this incarnation, but from previous lives as well. His strong recommendation, recommended by his associates and my host as well, was that I should begin training immediately. You're in dire straits, Superman. We need to fix you. We can fix you. Always been very vulnerable to criticism. So what was said at that meeting had a strong effect. Maybe it was my life all an illusion and I had no true knowledge about myself or anything else. For that matter, I agreed to come back before rehearsal the next day and to begin studying Scientology with an open mind. Right. So that's how he, Christopher Reeves, joins Scientology. Right. I want to scroll ahead a little bit. This I think is kind of interesting. Right. The TR0 experience was relatively inexpensive, costing perhaps a few $100s. But the next step was auditing, which was outrageously expensive and would have continued for an unspecified length of time. The church required a deposit of $3,000 in advance of one-on-one meetings with an auditor. This would have been the 12.5-hour block at that point in time, which is basically $100 an hour. In 1975, even the best psychiatrists and psychoanalysts, hey, Corn, how you doing there? Even the best psychoanalysts were charging less than half of that. But he's convinced he needs auditing, so he's going to go through that process. Okay, he goes through a few times about talking what goes on. The e-meter was basically a crude lie detector, questions touching issues that needed to be blown away would peg the needle at a 10. Anything innocuous hardly registered. I remember feeling a little foolish, but I already invested a huge amount of money, so I had to give it a chance. That is one of those things that I want to remind people that there is that sunk cost element that people that are in Scientology end up saying, well, I've already gone this far, I might as well go a little bit further, right? So it's not strange. And if you look at the way that he joined, we can see people that had any of the recruiters that I was talking to been successful, they may too have been drawn into the to Scientology just the same way, right? Talks a little bit about how it was expensive, right, and all of that. You couldn't use any illegal substances, but painkillers, antibiotics, routine vaccinations, those things were fine. Hubbard believed that a student could not go clear without completely deleting drugs from the mind's computer. Remember, the mind is a computer in Hubbard's thinking. He did the drug rundown, right? Now, this is the fun part. He finally says, I'm going to play a trick on, and I'm not going to say play, my words, he's going to play a trick. So then my growing skepticism about Scientology and my training as an actor took over. So he's into an auditing session. With my eyes closed, I gradually began to remember details from a devastating past life that happened to be in ancient Greece. I was the commander of a warship returning victoriously to Athens after a battle in Crete. My father was the king, and I was his only son, the sole heir to his throne. Many months before, when my fleet cast off from the port city of some Greek town, he had embraced me and made me promise one thing. On our return, we would set white flags for victory and black flags for... They skipped a part, so Google doesn't give us this page, but black flags if it wasn't. So he then recounts that they set the flags, they set the wrong flags up. The father was so distraught, the king father was so distraught that he unalived himself. And then when the son returned home, finding out that his father had died, he also unalived himself. And then now we pick back up with the story, and he's talking about the auditor. Their job is to write down what is said and record indications of the needle on the e-meter. But I could tell that my auditor was deeply moved by my story and trying hard to maintain her professional demeanor. I sensed that she was making a profound connection between the guilt over the death of my father when I was a Greek warrior in a past life and my relationship with a father in the present. And that was the end of my training as a Scientologist, right? My story was actually a slightly modified account of an ancient Greek myth, Thesis, returned to his homeland after slaying Minotaur in Crete. According to legend, his father, King Og, was so distraught, blah, blah, blah. I've gone on with that. But I just really thought that was a funny story that in 1975, Superman, not only the strongest creature in the universe, is also the smartest creature in the universe in that he's able to trick the Scientology auditors. And in this tricking of and getting them to believe the tale that he's just told, he finally wakes up, as Tori would say, and realizes, I need to get out of this place. So again, I just thought that was a fun story in that space. So what did you guys think about that story? Right. First of all, how many of you even remember who Superman was? All right. I don't have much else, but if there are any topics anybody wants to talk about, anything anybody wants to ask about, hey, what are some ideas that you have for me when I do the protesting? I will be out there tomorrow. Excellent. Lavender, I assume you do remember who Christoper Reeve was. I will be out at the org tomorrow, and I will be protesting. Thank you, Florence. But by the way, not only is it interesting to see that Christoper Reeve was able to pull one over on Scientology, it does show there is nothing important about these e-meters. They are just resistance capacitors that you basically are trying to stop the flow of electricity or moderate the flow of electricity, and you'll notice that you can do that by the amount of pressure that you put on the cans. So as you think about it, if you just relax, the needle's going to relax, right, in that space. So Amy, I remember hearing when it had happened, and again, he had been in several movies, but the Superman is how I remembered him, and just that idea, I was sad, right, that such a tragedy had befallen him. But he had a very productive life, and again, he never walked again, but he was a spokesperson for so many charitable and useful organizations in his later years. So kudos to him. Hopefully you enjoy these sessions. This one was a very modified version, right? We did a bit of a speed run. We did a bit of information on how body routing works in Scientology, and then just a recollection or a better recollection of the story of Superman and Christoper Reeve's experience in Scientology. So. I like that. So we did ask about Chad an awful lot. Right after the first court date, we asked about Chad an awful lot. Nobody would say anything, but that would have absolutely been one of those places where we would have had an impact on, hey, what happened to your friend Chadwick, right? But I do like that. Because, and again, there have to be some elements of Sea Org in Chicago. Now, they're not permanently posted there. They are probably temporarily posted there, similar to what they do in Columbus. But that's pretty powerful. Cool. And I see Fuzzy Pink Handcuffs has a room raid for us. No one, thanks for that idea. I like that. I appreciate it. We've got a room raid for Cubs champion. I'll put it up, but it doesn't really show up that well on the chat for people who are recalling. Corn, great to have you in here. Everybody, really enjoyed having you here. Leslie Jean, thanks for being in here. Lavender, Florence. So you might have asked this to some SO members, but what do I ask them if they're on the post? That's a good point. Now, one thing I don't know about Scientology, is it like the military where when you sign up, you kind of say, I want to be a pilot, and every recruiter says, sure, we can make you a pilot. But yeah, sorry. And I'm going to conflate a couple of conversations here real quick. 100%. Cubs has been out there all day, and so has Audit Boston K. Audit Boston K was having some battery problems. So hopefully she's been able to take care of that. But that was interesting as well. But Sharona, no one might be better on that. I'll ask the question 100%. It's hard for us to tell who actually is a Sea Org member. JBat, always my first. Thank you so much, JBat. Let's see here. I wonder if staff members do get that. Now, they move around a lot because like people quit or they get in trouble, right? And like when Mike Renner went to the hole, I assume somebody else took his position for a short period of time. And when some of those others were in trouble. But it definitely is something that I'll try to work into the conversation that I have. One of the things you have to remember, I have such a short period of time to ask a question, and I have to practice them quite a bit. I think I'm much better at my my questions today than I was 3 months ago, but I still do have to practice that quite a bit. And I want to agree with what Fuzzy said there. Absolutely, make sure you're subbing to Boston Audit K. JBat, thank you for being a member. You're my first super chat. Really appreciate that. All right, folks, let's head over to Cubs Champion 16. I will meet you over there. Oh, wait. Ha. So that's interesting, right? The idea that says, hey, you're in jail. Wait, I need you for a second. Come here. Go do this thing for me. Now go back to jail. It boggles my mind that Ringer put up with that for as long as he did. And my understanding was most of those executives kind of went through the same thing. Thanks for that, Noah. All right. Now I'm really, really going to head out. Let's head over to Cubs Champion. Let them know we sent you. Thank you.